So as we finish out this section, I want to talk again about the 4 intrinsic motivators and the task or role of the leader. And that's when you're a leader in the lives of others and when you're a leader in your own life. So when it's about yourself, you want to ask yourself, what am I feeling and what do I want? You want to make sure that you're listening to any barriers so that you can clear those barriers until you're in full alignment. You want to be asking yourself, is this worth my time and energy? Do I feel like I'm connected to a valuable mission or purpose that matters? So the task that you really want to do is you want to be focused on raising the level of inspiration. You want to be saying, do I need help with cynicism? How do I reduce or eliminate my cynicism? What will I do regularly to identify and talk about what most excites me and gives me joy around both my purpose and my role? How will I clarify the specifics of what my vision is? What practices will help me recognize my purposes in the world, in this particular setting, in my life as a whole? And how will I make sure that I get the most out of what I commit to do? We cannot really help other people to manage a sense of meaningfulness unless we are managing our own. We cannot help them to live an inspired, purpose-driven life unless we've learned how to live an inspired, purpose-driven life of our own. When you're looking at this intrinsic motivator for yourself, the questions you should be asking yourself are my activities coming from a sense of freedom? Are they coming from my ideas, or are they coming from I shoulda, I could've, I have to, I ought to, or even I can't? Do I regularly examine how the various choices available feel? Do I allow myself to consider choices that maybe I wouldn't initially consider? Am I giving myself permission to shift gears, to change my purpose, my methods, my pathway, or even my role? When you're looking at sense of choice, to put it in order for yourself, the questions you must really be thinking through are, how will I stay awake to the new choices and determine regularly what I can and want to do? What indicators can I set up to make me more present to my choices and my progress in acting on those choices? How will I encourage myself to take more risks, to stretch in the variety or challenge in my choices rather than playing it safe? How and when will I communicate the purpose of my choices to others so that I strengthen and validate those choices and purposes to myself? What will I do to gain exposure to new information about various choices for me? So again, when you take time to do the work to really expand upon your own sense of choice, you will be in a position of authority to help others to strengthen this intrinsic motivator too. When you're managing your intrinsic motivator of competence, the task is to make sure that you're competent in those skills and to make sure that you seek the support while you're building those skills. So the questions you would ask yourself are, am I doing good, high quality work? Am I a lifelong learner who's always moving in the direction of improvement? Do I look at new information to broaden my views and my experience? Are there others who can help me grow? One question could be, what steps will I take and what resources will I rely on to gain greater knowledge and skills in my role? How will I gain feedback and support to evaluate my own ability level and discover my blind spots? How will I recognize and acknowledge my skills, strengths, assets, talents, and then build upon them? How will I assess my level of challenge to make sure that it's not too great or too low? What are the standards and expectations that I set in place to empower me to move into growth versus settling for the status quo? So again, remember that the first person to manage and the first one to build intrinsic motivation in is within myself. The fourth intrinsic motivator is making time to acknowledge our sense of progress. And the task as a leader is to be a scorekeeper and a cheerleader. And for ourselves, this means that we are asking questions like, am I succeeding in achieving my valuable mission? Do I stop to smell the roses of my successes? Do I see how amazing I already am? Most of the time, we're focused on where we've not accomplished rather than what we have accomplished. So other questions are, how will I know when I've achieved success? How will I identify milestones, which are small targets, on the way to larger goals? How will I celebrate and savor progress? How will I see the significance and value of my purpose and what I do as part of the larger community? How will I measure my improvements and relevancy towards my vision? So once you've been able to successfully strengthen your own intrinsic motivators, you can then inspire, hand off, coach, and scorekeep and cheer others on with great success. So in step 4 of our 7-step process, there's a sub-step that is developing team members so that they can take ownership of continually improving their own performance. And so this is a way in which we assist people in their self-management. We first help them commit to a meaningful purpose. And then we help them to move into that second intrinsic motivator of choice. Choose activities to accomplish the purpose that you've set. And then there's the competency in performing those activities and monitoring those activities in that sort of scorekeeping way to register when there's competence and monitoring that progress that then ties back into the meaningful purpose. And when you do this, you're actually creating not only purpose, values, and vision, but the goals, the procedures, and the roles, and how you're going to track and report those results. So just remember that you are working towards a worthy target. You are dismantling the old control models in order to cultivate fully engaged, personally responsible people. You're helping people that would otherwise care mostly about me and mine, which means that they will be very transactional with people, focusing on what's in it for them, into people who care about everyone's wild success and that make that their goal. And in order to do that, you have to transform from the old extrinsic motivators into the new intrinsic motivators. And by doing that in the kinds of conditions and conversations that you're creating that are so transformative, you will achieve that worthy target.